Hey there, this is Kelly Hauser, the owner of KelliDream. Welcome to our Biscuit the Pig right-handed tutorial. Whether this is your first time crocheting or if you have a little bit more experience, just remember, it's completely fine to mess up and laugh at yourself and try again. In fact, before this video was edited, there were a few times that I had to pull some stitches out, recount, and start again. Crochet is just like that. And it's all about relaxing and having fun and enjoying the process. If you ever need to slow things down or speed them up, just tap on the video and use the little gear icon to adjust your speed or to rewind. Now let's get started. Gather the things you'll need: your pattern card and your dry erase marker, your yarn, your 4mm hook, 2 stitch markers, and your KelliDream Magic Circle Tool. I'm going to teach you how to make a magic circle the first stitch using our KelliDream Magic Circle Tool. With the groove facing toward you, press the yarn into the top slit. Turn the tool sideways and wrap the yarn around it twice, making a little X. Hold that part of the yarn down with your finger, and with your hook facing down, go under the first loop and grab the second and twist it onto your hook. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through, and then you're going to tighten it a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take the hook and put it back under the loop, grabbing the yarn and pulling it over and onto the hook. Then I'm going to yarn over the top and pull that yarn through the 2 loops on my hook, and that makes a single stitch. We go under again, grab the yarn, pull it onto the hook, then yarn over again and pull that through the 2 stitches on the hook. And that continues until we make 6 stitches. For this pattern, we're going to use 6 stitches on the magic circle. Each of these stitches makes a small V shape, which I'll show you in a minute as I finish this. You notice I tighten as I go to kind of keep the tension. And you pull a longer loop once you get to 6, and you should double check and count your V's. I have 2, 4, 6, and I'm going to go back to that first V stitch, the first single stitch on there, and put my stitch marker under both of those little parts of the V. And that's going to mark the first stitch in this round, and each round we're going to have a marker to mark that first stitch. Now to remove the magic circle from the tool, you're going to want to be careful not to unravel it. Make sure that loop stays there and grab it by the loop and pull it off gently. Now we're going to pull the tail, which is the little short piece, while holding onto the loop, and that will close the circle and make your first round, the magic circle with 6 stitches. This next round 2 is a round with 6 increases. So we're starting off with, basically we're putting 2 single stitches in each stitch, but don't worry, I'll walk you through it. You put your hook into that first stitch where I have the stitch marker. Just kind of wiggle it in. You have 1 loop on the hook, and you're going to grab that extra yarn. It's the working yarn, not the tail. And you're going to yarn over. Let me get it all there. Okay. Yarn over, and I'm going to pull it through. Sometimes you have to wiggle it a little. The first stitch is a little tight, and you should have 2 loops on. And you yarn over again and pull that through. Now we're going to repeat this because it's an increase. Put it through the first stitch, which are the little V, yarn over and pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through those. Now you've just made 2 stitches. You can see the little V's, and what we're going to do is that very first of the two, we're going to put a stitch marker. I'm going to use the second stitch marker, and you can see I have 2 stitches. The first one is the beginning of the row. Get rid of this one. Now we're going to put another increase stitch into the next stitch in the round. Go through underneath the V, grab the yarn and pull it through. With those 2 loops, reach over and yarn over and pull that yarn through those 2 loops. Then we're going to do it again. Go back through the same stitch, pull the yarn through, and then yarn over and pull it through those 2 loops. And as you can see, I turn the hook to grab the yarn as I go. Now the next one, we go under and through, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. We go back into the same stitch and do the same thing. So we're putting 2 single stitches into each of the stitches on this round. And that is what an increase is. By the end of the round, we will have doubled our stitches in this round. We will have 12 stitches or 12 V's. Now with round 3, we're going to do a single stitch and then an increase stitch around 6 times. So the first stitch here is a single stitch in where the stitch marker is, and we're going to mark the beginning of the next row by putting a stitch marker, and then the next stitch we're going to do an increase like we did all the way around on the last round. So we look for the V and we put our hook in and pull the yarn through, yarn over and pull that through the 2 loops. If you lose your place or your hook, just put it back in. We'll do it again in the same stitch, and this will be an increase. Now we do a single stitch, and we're going to alternate all the way around until we get to the stitch marker that marks the first stitch. Okay, we can count them to be safe. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I have 18 stitches. Now round 4 is 2 single stitches then an increase all the way around. So we're going to follow that pattern, 2 single stitches, then an increase, and we keep doing that over and over until we get all the way around. So this is the first single stitch, and we will mark that beginning of the next round with our marker. Remove this one. Okay, so we've done 1 single stitch, and now we're going to do a second one to make 2 single stitches. In the next stitch we do another one. And then now we're going to do an increase. That means 2 stitches in that same one. So come back to that pink one again and put a second one. So now, oops, this happens to me a lot. So I'm trying to rush. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's just grab it again. Okay, and that's the second one. So now we're going to start back. We're going to do 2 more single stitches. 1, and then in the next one we'll do another stitch in the next one, and then we're going to put 2 in this one, 2 to make it an increase. We're going to go around like that, single, single, increase, single, single, increase, until we get to the end, and we should have 24 stitches. Round 5 is an increase, then 3 single stitches all the way around. So we're going to do the first stitch as an increase, so we put 2 stitches into this one. I'm going to stop and mark that first stitch. Okay. Now another one into that same first stitch. So that's an increase. And now we're going to do 3 single stitches in a row. And you may wonder why we have the increase first this time and then the 3 stitches. It helps round out your project. If we increase at the same spot every time we go around, it kind of has little corners. So maybe you weren't wondering that, but some people comment. Okay, so increase, and now we do 3 more singles, and we go all the way around, and we'll have 30. In round 6, we're just going to do 30 single stitches all the way around. Oh, all right. I gotta grab that again. Okay. So I think there's 7. It looks like, yep, 7 rounds like this in a row. So I'm going to show you on the pattern card a quicker way to, we're just going to tally it. I'll show you in a bit. And as we go around and do 30 stitches, 7 different rounds, it's going to start to curve and become more like a bowl. And so in round 9, I'll show you what it means to turn it to the right side. But in case you're skipping ahead, I just wanted to tell you that the right side will be, right now it's flat, but once it starts to turn into a bowl shape, the right side will end up being, we'll turn it so that the tail is on the inside, and the side you see right now is going to be facing you, kind of like this. Okay, now that we're done, I'm going to take my pattern card in that little area there. I'm just going to do a little tally, and it's easier to see. Now for round 7, we'll just go around again. Single stitches all the way around, 30 stitches. Now tally number 2. We're going to make 7 of these little marks. Round 8, 30 single stitches. Round 9, 30 stitches. As you can see, it's turning into a bowl shape, and we're going to turn it right side out, which means we flip the bowl with the, we have the tail on the inside, and we continue to stitch in the same direction across the top, just as before. Round 10, 30 stitches again. Keep going. Round 11, 30 stitches. Round 12, you've made it. This is the last round where we do 30 single stitches. Round 13, 3 single stitches, a decrease stitch 6 times. So I will show you how to make a decrease stitch when we get there. And it's considered an invisible decrease stitch, and I'll show you how. Okay, 2, 3, oops, 3. Okay, now we're going to take the front loop of the first one. So go in the middle of the V, and then we're going to take the front loop of the second one, and we're going to pull through those. And then yarn over the top. So the reason that's called a decrease is that where there were 2 stitches on the last round, we've just put 1 stitch. We've grabbed the 2 front loops of the 2, and we're doing that again, and you pull it through as if it's 1 stitch. And that is why it's called a decrease. So we do 3 more single stitches, 2, 3, and then I can keep these on the hook, and then another decrease. Front, front, pull it through, and yarn over and pull through again. For round 14, we're going to attach the eyes, and we're going to stuff her with some filler. Now the way you find we're going to put them around row 7. I think I said between 6 and 8. So you count from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 rows down and about 4 stitches in between her eyes. Use the picture to judge, but around 4 stitches apart. You need room for that snout. I'm going to pick kind of like the stitches over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Play around with it and just see what you like. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go with 7 between rows 6 and 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4 between them. And when you put these backs on, the widest part goes down against the yarn. Rip open the vacuum packed filler and just stuff it as much as you can. And you can also add more before you close the hole. if you prefer. Round 15, 2 single stitches, then a decrease 6 times. And the smaller this hole gets, the harder it is to do the decreases, but just have patience with yourself. Take your time and you'll get it. Round 16, 1 single stitch, a decrease 6 times all the way around to equal 12 stitches. Round 17, it is 6 decreases. This is what I was talking about. It gets a little bit harder the tighter that all these stitches get with the smaller hole. Take your time, you'll get it. Round 18, cut a 4-inch tail. Use the needle to stitch in the front loops only until it's closed, and then you're going to bury the tail. So you cut the 4-inch tail, use your embroidery needle, and what you're going to do is you're going to look at those front loops and you're just going to stitch into each one like a little sewing stitch. Just go all the way around and the hole will close automatically as you do that. Now we get to one of my favorite parts is when you bury the yarn. And it's a really cool thing. You just put it through the body, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going back through that same hole, and it's basically just getting caught up in all of the stuffing. And pick a nice place to have it exit, and then when you cut this, it'll just kind of pop back into the body. It disappears. It's kind of fun. Now for the snout, we're going to make another magic circle with 6 stitches, just like before. For the snout round 2, we're going to do 6 increases all the way around, again, just like when we started the body. Round 3, we're going to flip to the right side. Round 4, we're going to slip stitch in the back loops only. And I'm going to show you how to do this. You're just going to put it in the back loop furthest away from you, and you're going to pull that yarn all the way through again. So in the end, you should only have one loop on your hook. And let me mark that. Okay, so I'm going to show you again. The loop farthest from you, pull it through both of them. It's kind of counterintuitive to what you've been doing. And it just makes it moves you along, but it makes the stitch very flat. It's not as bulky. You're just pulling one piece of yarn through. Whoops, here we go. All the way through, and you go all the way around like this. It's going to make the little snout flat on the bottom there. Round 5, it's not really a round, but we're calling it a round. We're going to attach the two nostrils. We're using 5mm safety eyes as nostrils. Now, when you put it in, you can't just put it in a very open hole. You have to kind of find half of it a stitch so that the nostril piece catches and doesn't go through. I'll zoom in on it and show you. And I'm going to pull on the tail to kind of close that hole. Okay. I'm going to move this up just a little to catch more of the yarn so it doesn't go through. See how I'm kind of tucking it under that piece of yarn? Okay. Now when you go to put the backs on, if it's too difficult, I have a little trick. I get a fork that can fit around the back of the eye and push it down. Since these are little, it's not that easy, but you can do it. It's just, you just got to get the right angle. I keep trying to do it with my nails, but I've broken many nails trying to do this, so the fork trick really does help. Round 6, fasten off, leaving a 7-inch tail. Round 7, we're going to sew the snout onto her face. I like to tie a little knot here. I don't know, just helps hold it all in place. And then what we're going to do is going to be one row just below the eyes. And you try to center it, make the little nostrils even. Using the embroidery needle, thread the needle and find your spot to start. And what you're going to do is you're just going to grab a little bit, get a little bit under each stitch that you want, and then you're going to grab a stitch on the nostril. We can pull this through. Some things we should edit out, but look, that way you can see how it happens. So then I'm going to get a little bit of the nostril, just the little outer edge here. See, it doesn't take much. And then back under another stitch on the body there, right where I want the nostril to go. And then I'm going to catch another stitch on the nostril, and I'm just going to go around joining stitch by stitch, body to nostril. And I think I can show you the rest of the seat. We go under, use a stitch on the nostril, grab a stitch on the body, and you just keep going all the way around. At this point, take a look at it and see if the nostril looks good. If it looks even and where you want it, then you're good to go ahead and just, oh, I see another spot down here that's a little bit loose, so I'm gonna, this is a very forgiving yarn and it's a forgiving pattern. You just go get the yarn to where you need it to be and you stitch it down. So I just kind of went under the nostril and I'm grabbing one more stitch here, and if I can get it, and then I'm gonna tie that last little bit down, and I'm gonna have this other piece meet where the other one is, and then I like to tie things off. Don't let people judge you for that. The purists might disagree, but I think it works better, especially when you're attaching things like this. So now we're just going to bury the ends, my favorite part. Now we're going to start with the magic circle for the ear. We're going to do 4 stitches. This is our special pig ear pattern. Just like you learned before, only you're going to do only 4 stitches. Row 2 is an increase 4 times. So once you finish that round, we're going to have 8 stitches. Round 3 is a single stitch and then an increased stitch 4 times all the way around. Round 4 is 12 single stitches. Just go around the whole way. Round 5 is a chain 1, turn, and then single stitch, decrease stitch times 4. So a chain is where you pull the stitch all the way through, and then we're going to turn the whole pattern around. Basically, we're going to go back to where we came from. And now, into that pink first stitch, we're going to put our first single stitch. So we chained up and then we're going back down and we're starting with that stitch. So if you can see, I'm going to put a single stitch here, kind of where I had just put the chain. And then we're going to do a decrease, and we're going to follow that pattern all the way back. So this decrease is not as easy. It's super tight. So just wiggle your way through it. Sometimes you can just take the hook and make room by just kind of pulling it up and down. Okay, now I'm doing a single. And here comes another one of those decreases. It's very tight. And then, like the sound effects. Okay. And a single. Just keep make sure that you're on that top ridge. Those are the stitches you're working from. The top V's. Always look for the V's. Okay. We're getting close to the end. And one more decrease. Round 6, we're going to do the same thing. Chain 1, turn, single, decrease, only this time it's times 2. After you've done a single decrease, another single decrease, and then you're going to, the last 2 stitches are single stitches. Okay, now we just have 2 single stitches. It's a little bit tricky to see where they go, but just look for the V's, and it's going to kind of end up on a little bit of a ledge. It doesn't go all the way to the stitch marker. Now you want to pull the tail, leave about 6 inches. Repeat these same instructions to make a second ear. Flatten each ear, and I like to tie the ends, and you're going to want to arrange them, kind of flatten them out and see where the points are, and make their points face outward so you can see how they're going to look. Sew onto the top of the head, and you're going to want to sew it from the 3rd round down from the top. So if you look at the middle top, count down to 3, and that's where the edge of the ear is going to attach. And I like to just go ahead and tie it on at that spot just to kind of anchor it. And then what we're going to do is just go around the back and the front and stitch it on to the body. Repeat on the other side. Tie the knots to secure it as needed and bury the ends. Now for the pigtail, we're going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to show you how. You make a little X and you put your fingers into the little loop and pull the long yarn through. And that knot is called a slip knot because it can slide. Step 2 is chain 10. So you use the slip knot, and now you're going to just do many slip stitches over and over again to make a chain. Oops. You just keep pulling it through the loop until you have 10. Step 3, we're going to turn and slip stitch in the next loop from the hook. We're going to go back the way we came from, pull it through all the way. And we're going to go to the next loop and slip stitch again. And we'll keep doing that until, and we're going to kind of try to keep the tension a little bit tighter. It's okay if you don't understand or don't know how to do a tighter tension, it'll still work. It kind of creates a curled effect if one side is a little bit tighter than the other. But you just slip into each loop and then grab the working yarn and pull it through both the loop on the hook and the loop that you're stitching in. So again, same thing, slip stitch, slip through that loop and then the next, and go all the way down to the end. Now we're going to wrap the tail tightly around something like the hook to give it a little bit more curl, and then we're going to attach it to the back of the pig. You can cut it, and I think I want to wrap it a little bit more just to tighten it up. You just get, it ends up making one side longer than the other, so it holds once you do this. See how cute? And I'm going to put it in the back. And I'll tie another little knot to fasten it on. And I'm going to show you a little trick. So to make it kind of pop out, I'm going to go ahead and bring my yarn through the same hole, both sides of the tail and the cut working yarn. I'm going to bring them back through the pig out through the same hole. I'll show you. And then I can pull on these to kind of tighten up the connection with the body. See? And what I'll do is I'll tie another knot to kind of hold that, and then I'll bury those. It's a little trick you can do with anything that you want to kind of stick out or stand upright. So now we'll just bury these. Now we're going to do this optional step of adding the 4 little pig's feet. Jamie and I debated about whether or not to have the feet as a part of the kit, because some people don't like to do this many attachments, and as you can see on the picture, she doesn't have feet, but I think they're cute, so you know who wanted them and who didn't. So feel free to make a magic circle with 5 stitches, and I will show you how to do this, and you have to just repeat it 4 times. Now you just go around and single stitch in all of those 5 stitches. Fasten off and leave a 4-inch tail, and then turn to the right side. Repeat 4 times to make 4 feet, and then attach them to the belly in kind of an even square pattern.